Hello and welcome to the Lincoln Museum. Why am I holding a bone? We are here in the Lincoln Museum, which is an archaeological museum where we find all sorts of exhibits back from the times of the Bronze Age all the way to the medieval times to modern times. And what is a bit special about this museum, other than that it is in Lincoln and shows Lincolnshire exhibits, is that we've got a robot here. And this robot has been working in this museum for about 5 years now, giving tours to visitors and taking them around, showing them the different exhibits. And this is one of the key bits of our research that we do in the University of Lincoln as part of the Lincoln Center for Autonomous Systems, where we try to get robots out into the wild, into environments that outside of the lab to encounter real-world challenges. And here, real-world challenges really means that we've got people that we're interacting with, and we want to have this robot actually improve what it is on the job. So what I'm going to show you now is our robot Lindsay parked over here near her home, let's call it, the robot station which you see over here. And on a normal day, this robot actually will operate completely independently, completely autonomously on its own, wait for people who select tours and want to be guided around by this robot. We see over there the charging station. I'm going to use this as a pointer now. We see there's a charging station where the robot will dock, usually at around this time of the day when the museum actually closes, and get ready for the next day. It collects quite a bit of data while it is here to actually get better, but we'll hear a bit more about that later on. So let's first have a look at this robot. We've got, this is called a MetroLab G5 platform, and we have put quite a bit of different sensors on it. So you see a camera right there at the top, and we have a touch screen here that is the main means of interaction for people, and it can also speak, as you will hear later on. The main job of this robot, as I said, is to give tours to people, so they can choose different tours, or they can even just choose one of the exhibits that they want to learn more about. So the challenges here really are about navigating this space, which may be populated by a lot of people. We actually had when we did the earlier trials here, we had a school class running around. Really, really challenging to navigate in such spaces when there's lots of people buzzing around, and to actually interact with people, and as we will hear later on, learn from these interactions. Now, I've invited some visitors in here tonight. As I said, at the moment, we are closed now, so we had to get special visitors in. Hello, here's our tourists that are visiting the city of Lincoln and are interested in getting a tour and learn a bit more about the history here. So we see we have got different tours to choose from. They can explore these, and then they can decide to actually store a tour to start from. They seem to be quite picky, seem to be diligently exploring all the options here. Let's go deaf. So they've chosen one.
Let's go on a tour of the gallery to explore some of the amazing examples of design and decoration from archaeological objects found in Lincolnshire. Follow me to the Iron Age coins drill.
So as part of this tour, the robot always goes for one of these exhibits in the first instance. So the tour is composed of different stops that we can actually see the robot going to. And I'm going to give it a little jig. Oh, no, it's actually going. And we see in this case, this part of the tour, the first stop will be the Iron Age coins drill, which is on the other side, because we wanted to show you a little bit more of the space that we are exploring here. One of the challenges of a robot in a museum like this is also that because we are not here, it has to be completely operate on its own. Having certain recovery behaviors is really important. So often we seek actually help from people, from actual visitors, to overcome challenges when the robot, for instance, gets lost. Big challenge is also that our friends from the Lincolnshire County Council, who we are in partnership with, they love to change the space for special events. And all of a sudden, then this robot will call us and will tell us that there is something gone wrong. But normally we haven't got anyone here working with this. Robot is completely on its own. I'm going to introduce Francesco, who has been working with this robot for a long while. I'm going to hand over the bone for him to point at things.
Thank you.
Our tourists are interested in the exhibit. He can probably tell you a bit more about what's happening here.
Yes, thank you very much, Mark. I'm Francesco. I'm a lecturer from the University of Lincoln, and I will talk to you about a bit what I worked on with this robot here in the museum. So basically, this robot is basically always looking at people interacting while they interact with the robot, and is trying to understand how much they are engaged and how much they are interested while they are interacting with the robot. So for example, you can see from the robot view, from the robot camera view now, there is a little red bar on the bottom of the image, and from there you can see how much people are engaged at this moment. So for example, if people they look around and they get a little bit disengaged, you can see that the engagement level will go down. And if they are instead looking straight at the robot and looking at the exhibit, then the engagement will go up. So this signal is basically used for the robot, not only for understanding how much it is engaged at that specific moment, but it's also used to learn over time how to improve and how to be a better tour guide. So the robot is using this value as a reward, positive if people are highly engaged and negative otherwise. And through this reward is basically learning what are the best action it can do at any moment. And repeated this over time, it will learn how to do like more engaging tours for the users. So yeah, the tour now is finished, and we are here in the center of the museum where we have another robot that has joined us. Hello. Hi, Matt.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, visiting the museum all the way from Sheffield today.
Oh, okay, nice. Can you tell us a little bit about the technology you are using for visiting the museum?
Fantastic. Yes. So this device I'm using today and remoting from is called a telepresence robot, and it allows people to view and perform some physical actions, so like moving around in the physical space, while actually being physically far away. So you can be in another city, you could actually be in another country, but you can experience it in a similar way to being just there. So as we've all got used to, we're used to Zoom calls now, so this is like that, but with a few added functions. So you can imagine how this technology can enable people that can't come to the museum to visit it from the comfort of their own home. So this kind of robot can really benefit a range of people, for example, people with disabilities, older people, or even people with social anxiety.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for explaining to us what this robot is about. So I think now, like if the audience wants to start asking some questions, and meanwhile we can continue talking a bit about this kind of technologies while the questions will start to come.
So I think
well, we do already have one question that's come in from forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong, Kartikeya. First of all, saying that it's very cool,
Okay.
but also they've asked this question. So who gave the voice sample, or is it AI generated?
Oh no! So
this one is AI generated, and actually we're using a called text-to-speech system that is very dated. And it's probably one of the things that will probably be swapped out quite soon. As I said, this robot has been in this museum for a long while, and it's still using the AI generated speech from day one. It's probably the one that actually comes from a previous project, so I think it hasn't really changed for about 10 years. People that use their series and their home assistants will probably be familiar with better voices. So I think that's one of our next steps that we will do, is getting a better voice here.
Yes, definitely.
Have you got any other questions, Matt?
Are people all nice to the robot, or do some people try to mess with it?
Oh,
big
go.
challenge. Big challenge. It's in general when we deploy robots out in the wild. I've got fantastic photographs of all sorts of incidents that have happened, from robots calling us because it couldn't charge because it had mopped up chewing gum from the floor, and that had spread out over its charging contacts, when we've seen earlier on where it can go to charge. Over people loving to play around with some sort of calibrated sensors. I think the worst we've had in the museum was when the robot couldn't move because it saw an obstacle. What it turned out to be, and when we had to actually come in and check it out, was half a sandwich that was wedged in the slot down here. where the laser scanner sits. So the robot uses the laser scanner to see obstacles around this, and somebody had decided it would be a good rubbish bin to just dispose of their half-eaten sandwich in there. So yes, it's not all nice, it's not all friendly, and I don't think people really treat robots with the respect they treat most humans, let's say.
I would say in that case they were trying to feed the robot, because maybe that was a mouth.
Maybe they were trying to feed the robot. Yes, that could well be. But I think we can say I've asked Francesco earlier, who has been running this project mostly, how often actually he had to come in, because this poor soul was the one who was in charge when the robot cried out for help. How often did he have to come in? Maybe you want to say that again. How often was it roughly?
Yeah, it was maybe once a month, even though like initially it was more frequently than that, because like all the code and all the robot behaviors were not bulletproof, and over time we improved it, and we also put some kind of systems that allows the robot to ask for the user help when where it needs, like when it's in a failure or when it cannot recover anymore. For example, when the robot is stuck somewhere in the museum, it will ask people to push it away. Or for example, we can try one now live. Exactly. For example, if someone presses the emergency button, you can see from the screen there is already a warning that says that the emergency button is pressed. And if someone tries to send the robot somewhere, so the robot...
Follow me to the Witham Valley monasteries. I can't move because the emergency buttons have been pressed. Please release them to unlock my motors.
So the robot asks the users to release the motors, and then it will start moving. So this is an example of how, this is a very simple situation that can be resolved very easily, but there are some more complex situations that sometimes can also be solved very easily by the general user, even though they don't have in-depth experience about robotics or how the system works. Such as, for example, when the robot is stuck, they can just push the robot somewhere.
I am probably stuck near an obstacle.
But this is another perfect example where indeed the robot is asking for help, because we've been surrounding it so much that it actually was, while we were moving around, then it got stuck in here. So we invite people to actually have a go with that, and we disengage the motors and then send the robot on its way again. And you heard it said, "Thanks for helping me," and with a little luck, it will be on its way soon again.
So there
we go.
For example, now there were many people around the robot, so it was, it wasn't able to find a viable path to pass around. And now with a little push, hopefully it will be able to navigate safely around people. So this is obviously also a result of the fact that this robot has to navigate around people, so it has to be absolutely safe. We cannot risk that the robot will push some obstacle or hit some people, so he has to be very conservative in the way it navigates.
And we have just seen that it was very good at avoiding the telepresence robot here. So thank you to the audience who were with us today, or who is going to watch this later on. If you want to learn more about what we're up to in the Lincoln Center for Autonomous Systems, you find us easily on the web. If you search for Robots Lincoln, I think that's probably almost enough to search for on the search engine, but otherwise it's out as Lincoln HC UK. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. If you're someone interested in working in robotics, be it on the BSc, MSc, or PhD level, we have the whole portfolio available for you. And in general, have a bit of a look around for all the other research videos that you find on our website. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Matt, this really is the moment now, because it's the last one where we go for a drink. And you have to join the way you are right now, I'm afraid. Come on, let's go.
All right.
Let's go. You will enjoy it, I'm sure. Bye-bye.
I'm coming.